I've got a question for you. Who is the person you're being? Are you satisfied? It's okay. This is a judge-free zone, and it's exactly why I started the show. Welcome to Be the Person, a podcast for the brave and the curious who are ready to explore who they are fully created to be. I'm your host, Randall, the adventurous one leading this investigative journey of transformation. By delving into topics and asking unexpected questions, we will discover the keys for unlocking our true potential and being our best selves today. You may be surprised by what you find when you let go of fear in order to discover the answers of becoming the person you were made to be. Happy 2024. Welcome to Be the Person podcast. I'm Randall, and I'm your host. Today, we're going to be talking all about setting goals. And I know a lot of us set goals in the beginning of the year, New Year's resolutions, and we're going to talk about how to achieve those goals and make sure you set goals that stick and that help you create the life that you really want. Have you ever been at a place where you knew you needed to change something? Maybe you weren't even sure what. Maybe you're thinking about this year and thinking, what are those goals that I really want to achieve? I'm going to give you a way to think about it today to help you in all areas of life achieve the goals that you have and figure out exactly how to set those goals. I've been doing this for several years, and I do it at the beginning of each year. I'm also a huge monthly goal person. I like to set monthly goals and focus each month on one specific goal. So although I do this at the beginning of the year, I also revisit 12 times a year. I love pictures, and that's really how my mind thinks. So today I'm going to paint some pictures for you. And if you have a pencil and paper, you may want to take it out. If not, if you're driving or working out, you can do this all without it and maybe write it down later. But I want you to picture these different areas of life. And the areas that we're really going to focus on today are family, finances, fitness or your health, field, which is your career, faith, fun, and friends. These 7 came from a book called Ula. And Ula was a book that we did as a team at Orange Theory several years ago. And I've used it over the years to really look at what are the different areas of life. So again, family, finances, fitness or health, field, which is your career, faith, fun, and friends. So those are the ones that we're going to look at and think about today. And I want you to think about a couple different people. One of them is a juggler, and that person is always juggling, and they always have plates up in the air, and they really look like at any second they're going to drop those plates. They're all going to come crashing down. Maybe picture that juggler when you think about somebody that's just first learning how to juggle. They're not very good. And then I want you to think about a second person. And I want you to look at their plates. And all of their plates are the same color except for one. One is a bright red special plate. And that plate, the juggler pays extra attention to, has a specific focus. And so he's juggling. And there's that one plate. And sometimes, although he has 7 plates in the air, several of them seem to just disappear for minutes. And that red plate, though, always keeps coming back time and time again. He juggles with ease and doesn't look like he's going to drop any of his plates. This is what happens when you focus on one specific area in life. You become the second juggler. Not that we can ignore all the other areas, but one area gets special focus. So right now in your mind, or if you're writing things down, I want you to think about what would that one area be for you? What's that one area that you feel like in January 2024 you want to focus on. And you may want to score yourself. Think about, if I had to give myself a score from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how would I score myself in each of these areas? And the area that you score the lowest in might be the one that you want to focus on. Today, in my example, we're going to focus on fun. A lot of you, because it's the beginning of the year, you might want to focus on fitness or health. It doesn't matter. Just pick yours. And now, if you're trying to think about, "Gosh, which one should I focus on?" I want you to think about somebody else, a friend or family member, and you think about their life and you think about, I wonder which area they should focus on. And a lot of times it's really easy for us to pick out in other people what we think they should focus on. So if you're drawing a blank and you're not really sure which plate, I want you to ask a couple different people, "Hey, what area do you, when you're looking into my life, do you think I need to focus on?" Some of you aren't going to need to do this drill. You just know which one it is. When I did this the first time, my fun score was a 2. I was not having very much fun at all. So that was the area that I really focused on. And you may come back and focus on all of these in 2024, but I would just challenge you to focus on one at a time. Make it that special red plate for January. Which one do you want to do? So now that you have your area that you're going to make your special red plate, I want you to think about, what's one goal, just one thing that you could do to make it more so you could achieve something in that area. One thing, one goal. So, for example, when I used it and mine was fun, it was to have one date night a month, which seemed pretty easy. For fitness, it might be to walk around your block every single day. It might be to work out 3 times a week. Might be to get rid of all the junk food in your house. But when you think about that goal, I want you to make it really specific. What is that one thing that would make you more successful if you did it in that area? And then I want you to think about, gosh, what is the one thing I could do to start to achieve that goal? And I want you to think about making a small, small change, smaller than you want to. For example, if you want to get in shape and you're not doing anything for exercise today, I don't want you to set a goal to go to the gym 3 times a week. I want you to set a goal to walk around your block every day this week. Why? Because we're going to stack our successes. And when we start to do that, our brain starts to say, we can do this. We can be successful. But what happens if you're not working out and you say, I'm going to work out 3 times a week, and after day 2, you're sore and you don't feel like it and you don't go? Your brain just says, told you so, told you we weren't going to achieve this goal. So we're going to make that first step smaller than we want. So again, you're thinking about, what is my special red plate? Which area? What's one goal I have in that area? And what is my very first step that I could do? Now, again, if you're driving or working out, I just want you to picture this in your mind. But when you get to a place you can, I want you to write it down. And then I want you to think about why. Why do you want to make that change? Simon Sinek does a lot of work here. And if we can connect that why, then it makes our goal so much stronger and we're much, much more likely to stick with it. For my fun goal, when I thought about it, my why was I didn't want to get to the end of my life and think all I've done is work. For your fitness goal, your why might be so you're there for your grandkids and you can live a life you want. But really think about what's your why. And at Orange Theory, everybody comes in and their initial why is to lose weight, to look better. But I would challenge you to keep asking yourself why. On average, research shows that we need to ask that question 7 times to get to the real reason. So why do you want to lose weight? and then ask yourself why again and why again until you get really down to your true why. And again, write that one down. And then I want you to picture yourself and do it right now. Picture yourself achieving that goal. How do you feel when you achieve that goal? As adults, so often we don't take time to just be proud of ourselves. And I want you to think about what is that feeling? When you have more fun, the feeling I pictured was joy. I wanted to have joy in my face. And what I pictured was this girl like running off a dock and just jumping in, and my hands were in the air. And it was how I pictured joy. And it was how I pictured fun. And I really felt that in my body. And I want you to feel that feeling. I want you to feel that feeling if health is your goal and you look in the mirror and you've achieved what you want, or you finish the race, you're able to play with your grandkids, whatever it is, how does that make you feel? And this is going to be our focus for the month of January is really that one thing, one small step at a time, remembering our why, and really focusing on how we feel when we accomplish that goal. What are your 2024 goals? Have you thought about traveling more? I have the perfect way to do it. Come with us to Italy next April. The 14th through the 20th, we'll be exploring Tuscany and then spending 2 days in Rome. We have so many fun things planned, including biking, wine tasting, cooking, touring, all in a 5-star resort, organic food with a wellness spin and specialized workouts. For more information, check out the show notes for the link. Now, I want to bring up something. One of my favorite books is Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it by James Clear. It's all about habits and how they work in us. And there's one page, and it's called The Plateau of Latent Potential. And it seems like a big fancy word, but it's a graph that has really helped me over the years. And I want you just to picture this with me because it's super easy. All we have is a line graph, and there is one line going straight up and to the right. It's just a straight line right up and to the right. And that's really the progress in our mind that we think we will achieve. It's going to be easy, it's going to be straight, and we're just going to do it. And what really happens though is there's actually what he calls a valley of disappointment, where you're doing the actions, you're making the change, you're having date night, you're eating healthy, you're doing your workouts, and you don't see it. You don't feel the joy. You don't see the progress on the scale. And a lot of times that's when we give up. But what happens on this graph is you have that line straight up and to the right. And then you have another line that shows actual results, and it loops down below that line for quite a long time. And then about 2/3 of the way over, it shoots past that line and straight up. So for a long time, we don't see results. We don't see results. We're in that valley of disappointment. And we're thinking, this isn't going to work. I want to give up. I'm not going to feel the joy. I'm not going to lose the weight. But the issue is we give up too soon. So I want you to picture this in your mind so you know what's going to happen. You're not going to be surprised. And then you're going to stick with it because consistency is what you need. You will get results, but you have to be consistent over time. So I want you to picture that valley of disappointment. Maybe it lasts for 15 days and you know the results are coming. You know it's going to happen and you're going to see it, but you have to stick with it. And those results or those things have to be something that you can stick with. That's why we're making the small change, because I know if you can walk around your block for a week, you may pick up something else brand new. You may decide, I'm going to go to Orange Theory, or I'm going to start cutting sugar out of my diet, Whatever it is, start small and then add on. In this book, Atomic Habits, James Clear also says the real reason we fail to stick to habits is our self image gets in the way. What you think about yourself. For me, it's always been the story of I don't picture myself, or I haven't in the past, as a super fun person. I'm pretty serious. I love to research, I love different things, but truly, I really do like to have fun. But that's been a whole new story that I've had to tell myself. For you, if we go back to if you pitch health, maybe you've always been overweight. And that's the story you tell yourself. It's never going to change. I've always been this way. But I would just challenge you on that story because we're all of a collection of stories that we tell ourselves. That voice in your head has the biggest impact of any voice. And I want you to think about that. What is that story that you continue to tell yourself? And maybe for the next day, you really just need to listen. Maybe you've never listened to that voice. For me, several years ago, that voice was so mean. And finally, I just made a decision that I wasn't going to talk to myself that way anymore. I would never talk to anyone else that way. And I made that decision that I wouldn't do it to myself either. Not that it's been a perfect journey. It's taken a while to change that voice. And Mean Girl Annie to herself still comes back from time to time. But I can recognize that. And the cool thing is, we get to change those stories that we tell ourselves. And I often ask myself these three questions. When a story comes up, I'll say, where did that story come from? Is the story true? And do I want to keep believing the story? Let me tell you about the story of fun for me. Because again, that was something I struggled with. And some of you may be thinking, gosh, that's silly. But if you think about it, like I love what I do, but I work really hard and I can be stuck in that. And I don't want to raise kids like that always just see their mom working and never having fun. So what I looked back is where did that story come from? And my parents worked really hard. And that was a really great thing. And they had fun, but somewhere in the mix of me, not because of them, I just equated fun with laziness. If you were having fun, you probably weren't working hard enough and you were being lazy. And when I look at, is that story true? Absolutely not. We know people all the time. They work really hard and they have tons of fun. And do I want to keep believing that story? And the answer there was no. It wasn't helping me create the life I wanted. So I could change that story. And for me, that has been taking a day off every week of I step away from work, think about what is that one thing that could bring me joy? What is that one thing I want to do? And I take a Sabbath. It's not always on Sunday, and I'm not legalistic about it, but I carve time out each week to think about how do I have fun? How do I bring joy in my life? How do I play? Because I want my kids to see that. I want my family to see that. If we're going to have great employees, I want them to see that. I want them to enjoy life because it makes them want to come back and work harder when they're at work. So, again, you can change that story, but self sabotage definitely comes into play by the stories that we tell ourselves. So, if there's something that's sticking with your goal, maybe you've tried this before and maybe you haven't been successful. That's okay. We can change that. 2024 can be your year. I want you to really think about why did I not achieve that? What was that story I'm telling myself? Where did it come from? Do I want to keep believing it? Is it true? And I want you to think about how you can change that story. Because just because it's a story of the past doesn't mean that it's a story of the future. You get to pick. We all want to be self confident. Maybe that's one of your goals for 2024 is to be more self confident. And I can tell you the way that self confidence is built is when we show up for ourselves. When we show up and we do what we say we're going to do, that's why I had you make that goal super small, because I want you to show up over and over again for yourself. Because when you do that, you become more self confident. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you become more self confident. You show yourself, I'm capable of doing this. I'm a reliable person and I will do it, promise by promise. And every time you do that, you get closer to achieving the goal that you set. And that helps you build the life you want. You do that one decision at a time. And again, it's not going to be this perfect journey. It's not going to be the line straight up and to the right on our graph. There's going to be a valley of disappointment. Honestly, it's probably a really squiggly line that ends up happening because we all make mistakes. We're human. If you mess up, just don't mess up twice. Get back on and start your goal again. But just because you fall off the journey or it doesn't go exactly like you think it's going to, that's okay. But I really want you to step into the power you have because you create the life you want one decision at a time. And really, people around you need you to show up and be the person that you are meant to be this year because you have gifts and talents that nobody else has. And if you hide behind them, if you set goals that are way too small, or you don't set any goals at all, you're not being the person you were meant to be. We can achieve big things together. I'm super excited about my 2024 goals. In 2023, I set a goal of having a podcast. I didn't know one thing about having a podcast. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to record. Nothing. I was scared to death. But I set that goal. And honestly, I didn't tell anyone, which isn't smart. I would definitely share your goals with other people. But once I wrote it down and I set that goal, things just started to happen and they started to play out. And not that it hasn't been a lot of work, it has, but it's been work that I've loved and enjoyed. And so just because you have something that maybe you're not even sure that you can do, that's okay. Write it down. Think about what are those big dreams? Who needs you to show up this year? And then decide what is that very first plate that you're going to work on, very first goal that you're going to set, and that tiny little step you're going to take to achieve that goal, because that's how we're going to do it. You get to our goals by one little step at a time. And that's how you become the person that you were meant to be. I'm excited to share that journey with you today. And maybe it was health and fitness that you put on that list. At Orange Theory, we support our members. I want to support you in any way I can. You can always DM or message me on Facebook or Instagram if you need help. I'm also hosting a special workshop because a lot of times we fall off because we're not sure what to eat or how to eat. And I've done a ton of research over this past year. I am super excited to share it with all of you. It's really on how we can be our healthiest, best self by fueling our body right. It takes into account fasting, your metabolism, your hormones, stress, all of those things play in. And then if you're like me, I need somebody to show me how to do it. So I have two people coming in, Chase and Cami, to do live food demos. All of this is going to happen January 16th at Shields in Colorado Springs. I'm going to put the link to get a ticket in our show notes. I believe this will sell out pretty quickly. So if you want to come, it's limited space. It's only $10. Grab your ticket because how we fuel our body makes a big, big difference. And instead of just cutting calories, we're going to look at a way that you can be successful, that you can set up a plan for you and you walk out of there with that plan, but also recipes and the know-how to make those recipes. So I'm so excited for January 16th. I hope you join me there if you're local. If not, I'm going to do the whole thing on YouTube and it will be available later this quarter. But thank you for joining me. I hope you set big goals. I hope you look at how you're going to achieve those goals and let's do it together. Thanks for joining me on Be the Person podcast.